a personal thank you for coming out today, taking time out of your Friday to be here with us. Just a little bit about us. This is a Media Entrepreneurship Lecture Series. So basically, we are a group of technology lovers that just never want to stop learning. So each week, we invite distinguished speakers to just share their knowledge with us. Today, we're in for a treat. We have one of my favorite professors, Elizabeth Strickler, sharing some of her knowledge about the metaverse and all sorts of cool things. So I'll have Imani come introduce her.
Hi everyone, how are you doing? So like Shelby said, we have the pleasure of having Elizabeth Strickler as our guest speaker today. She's actually a senior lecturer here at Georgia State University. She's been a co-principal investigator on a myriad of grants, so she definitely is a pleasure to have. As far as for our lecture series, she'll be continuing things talking about creating the metaverse, okay? So we can have a warm welcome and a round of applause for her.
All right. Do y'all think I need this? Yeah, okay. All right. So this is a passion of mine, so I might get really passionate, so just, deal with that. And I also have to do a level set. I know a lot of you understand augmented, virtual, and mixed reality, but I'm going to kind of make the assumption that people don't know a whole lot about that or a whole lot about blockchain. So I'm going to do a little bit of an expository bit, but we'll just sort of keep going. And the goal is for me to just really introduce you all to what I think is a really huge and burgeoning field. And my goal is to get you all interested in that space and finding where the opportunities are as media, content creators, and entrepreneurs. And the other thing I want to say is that this is an incredibly complicated topic, and contrary to what we will find out in one of the videos, there are no dumb questions because it takes a long time to wrap your head around this. And some of the things will be a little bit simplified, so it's something you all know a whole lot about this stuff. It might seem that I'm simplifying it a little bit, but that's because it's just sort of hard to get your head around all of it. And I'll just go until we hit 2 o'clock, and maybe there'll be time for questions. So, all right, y'all already saw who I am. And one of the things that you might not know is that I also teach in the Robinson College of Business. I teach blockchain programming because I was a computer science major at Georgia State as my second undergraduate degree before I got my MFA. Okay, let's just start off with something fun. Oh, I haven't tested audio. I hope it's good.
If you're like me, I'm sure by now you've heard about Bitcoin. It's been in the news a lot lately, and there's still quite a few people who don't understand what it is. Well, luckily I saw this commercial last night that explains what Bitcoin is and how it works. Take a look. Jen.
Oh.
I love our little get-togethers.
Well, you know what I don't love?
What?
Not knowing where to put my money for retirement.
There are just too many options.
401ks, IRAs, savings.
It's so confusing.
Well, you know where I put my money?
Where?
Bitcoin.
What's Bitcoin?
Bitcoin is the first decentralized digital cryptocurrency that works without a central bank.
Well, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, and it's so simple to use. Transactions take place through the use of cryptography and are verified by network nodes and recorded in an immutable public distributed ledger called blockchain. What could be simpler than that?
Nothing. It sounds great.
Right. So is it like investing in stocks?
Kind of, but not at all.
Well, I'm on board.
Really? Because I have so many more questions.
Not me.
Where can I get one of these Bitcoins? Can I buy one at my local bank?
Of course not. What a dumb question.
I thought it was bad.
No, it was dumb.
Bitcoins aren't like regular currency. They're mined.
In a physical mine, like gold?
That's ridiculous. Bitcoins are mined on computers using the SHA-256 hashing algorithm, creating 12.5 Bitcoins per block. That is until mid-2020. And then afterwards, 6.25 Bitcoins per block for 4 years until the next halving.
Wait, are we still talking about money?
Cryptocurrency.
This sounds so simple.
Shut up, Margaret. There's no way you understood all of that.
Okay.
So how much do one of these Bitcoins cost?
$17,000.
$17,000? That's insane.
Sounds like a bargain.
Ugh. And how do you keep track of these things' values?
Just check the internet. So far, far today, its value has gone up $1,000, and now it's down $800, and now it's up $500.
Sounds like you can't lose.
You absolutely can, Margaret.
How do I buy Bitcoin?
It's easy. Just go online and give them your credit card number.
Give who your credit card number?
Bitcoin, and then let the internet do what it does.
What does it do exactly?
It Bitcoins.
Here's my credit card.
No! So who started Bitcoin?
We think it was Satoshi Nakamoto.
Who is that?
No one really knows.
He sounds cute.
Margaret, I swear to God.
And Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency I trust with my kids' college fund.
That's smart investing.
That's bat crazy.
Now it's down to $3. Easy come, easy go.
This message brought to you by the stock market. Gamble with your retirement the old-fashioned way.
Okay, so that's what, they're talking about Bitcoin, and we're going to talk about blockchain, but that's what a lot of people sort of think right now, and that's okay because it is really confusing. And I just wanted to, blockchain is a decentralized technology which removes the middleman and removes the central authority. Okay, it's very much along the lines of what we're reading about in the New Power book. This blockchain is new power applied to money. Okay, so but really what it basically is when I say, when I say decentralized ledger technology, that means that every time a transaction happens, it just is written in a database. Okay, it's just written in a database. So let's just say if I give Shelby $10, right? If I give Shelby $10, what really, and even if I use Venmo or something like that, if I give Shelby $10, I actually it actually goes from my bank to her bank to her. Okay, so I don't give Shelby directly $10. There's a whole, process of centralized entities where that happens. So with blockchain, the way it works is I give Shelby $10. It deducts from my personal wallet, which is a ledger. It says $10 minus $10, and then it goes into Shelby's ledger plus $10. And that is written, those transactions are written in the database, and you can look at the history and see what happened, because that ledger is copied amongst all the different computers and nodes everywhere, but it's encrypted. So nobody can see it except for Shelby and I. Okay, so that's sort of the real basic kind of understanding. We're going to teach, like I say, I teach in loops, so we're going to loop back to that, but that's just the first sort of loop through what that is. I'm sorry I'm playing a lot of videos, but if a video can tell it, we're video makers. They do a really good job. People have spent hours making these. So this is another one that's helpful.
When you vote, have you ever wondered whether your ballot is actually counted? If you meet someone online, how do you know they're who they say they are? When you buy coffee that's labeled fair trade, what makes you so certain of its origin? To be sure, really sure, about any of those questions, you need a system where records could be stored, facts could be verified by anyone, and security is guaranteed. That way, no one could cheat the system by editing records, because everyone using the system would be watching. Systems like this are on the horizon, and the software that powers them is called a blockchain. Blockchains store information across a network of personal computers, making them not just decentralized, but distributed. This means no central company or person owns the system, yet everyone can use it and help run it. This is important because it means it's difficult for any one person to take down the network or corrupt it. The people who run the system use their computer to hold bundles of records submitted by others, known as blocks, in a chronological chain. The blockchain uses a form of math called cryptography to ensure that records can't be counterfeited or changed by anyone else. You've probably heard of the blockchain's first killer app, a form of digital cash called Bitcoin that you can send to anyone, even a complete stranger. Bitcoin is different from credit cards, PayPal, or other ways to send money because there isn't a bank or financial middleman involved. Instead, people from all over the world help move the digital money by validating others' Bitcoin transactions with their personal computers, earning a small fee in the process. Bitcoin uses the blockchain by tracking records of ownership over this digital cash, so only one person can be the owner at a time, and the cash can't be spent twice, like counterfeit money in the physical world can. But Bitcoin is just the beginning for blockchains. In the future, blockchains that manage and verify online data could enable us to launch companies that are entirely run by algorithms, making self-driving cars safer, help us protect our online identities, and even track the billions of devices on the Internet of Things. These innovations will change our lives forever, and it's all just beginning. To learn more about the urgent future of the blockchain, please visit.
So, let's just go over it again. A blockchain is a ledger, meaning a database, that is on a distributed network, that is append only. You never ever change the record. If you need to make an adjustment, you just write the next entry into the ledger saying there was a mistake made above, but you never change it. So immutable is what it's called, append only. Governed by a consensus protocol, meaning everybody gets to look and says, so the consensus protocol is, if I give Shelby $10, okay, and then that record gets, all of you are on the blockchain, and all of you have a personal computer, y'all write that down. Elizabeth gave Shelby $10, okay? And if later on, Shelby says, Elizabeth didn't give me $10, well, I can say, well, everybody look at the ledger, and everybody says, yeah, no, she did. But if she's colluding with this half of the room, as long as it's less than 50, as long as it's less than 49%, then everybody, even if this whole group, colludes with her, you all say no, 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 no. So that's consensus. So the consensus part is really interesting to me because it's really how groups of people monitor themselves. This will be really important when we start talking about communities and game communities and the like. All right, and the network is peer-to-peer. Think Napster, BitTorrent, okay? All right, peer-to-peer protects the integrity of a digital piece of information, invented to create an alternative currency. We already did that. Sorry, this is from like a 5-hour lecture, so I'm going to speed through some things. All right, trust. Okay, now we're going to switch for a second. I just need to make sure. So now we're kind of talking one little bit about what blockchain is. Now we're going to go into what is AR, augmented reality, VR, virtual reality, MR, mixed reality, and what makes up the metaverse and why that's important. Okay, and then we're going to tie those together. Okay, so
Elizabeth?
yes.
I don't know if I should ask this question now or later, but I'm already confused. When we're talking about consensus,
Okay, we'll get back to it.
okay,
Yeah, we'll get back to it. We're going to have a whole question section at the
because
end.
I'm thinking I don't care if I'm the people on the network.
Incentivized, right? You're incentivized. You make money. Sorry.
No, I heard that part.
That's what mining is. Incentivized. All right, cool. All right, so most of you all have heard of Pokemon Go. So this is an avatar. So that's important. This is my digital representation of myself. And Pokemon Go is an augmented reality app. It was sort of the first killer augmented reality app. And this is from quite a long time ago. But augmented reality means that you're augmenting, changing reality. You're putting a level, something on top of reality. This is called augmented reality as opposed to mixed reality because this Electrobuzz does not understand the real world. So we'll look at what mixed reality is later. And this is sort of the inverse of that. And okay, this is another augmented reality. It's really, right now, quite highly used in places like museums where you can put something over a photo or a sign and get more information out of it. This is a project that we did, low resolution scenario, okay? But if any of you all have seen Ready Player One, another dystopian image of virtual reality. But the imagination is that virtual reality will become so compelling and so well rendered and so much, very desirable to go to the point where I think you could also say that it has a drug-like effect. Those of you in the designing immersive experiences, distraction and all those kinds of things. But what's important here is he has on these don't really exist, but this is a head-mounted display, but these are haptics. This is where when you touch something that is fake, it feels real because you get the sensation back from it. So he's like, if any of you all have used the Magic Leap or anything where the controller sort of shakes, that happens in pretty much most gaming engines now. But if you're reaching out to touch something and it shakes or gives you some feedback, that's the haptic feedback. Again, all of these are digital assets which make up the metaverse, which could be monetized. Okay, this is so embarrassing, I'm gonna skip to the next one. The only reason why I show that is that Snapchat was one of the first apps that use what I really like to call mixed reality. And the reason why is because the digital makeup or the digital effects actually understands the physical world. It understands when I move my head how to move around. So it's the first connection of the real and the virtual. That's what mixed reality does. It connects the real and the virtual. That's really important. So speaking of Magic Leap is the somebody help me. I think it's like one of the highest funded companies in the United States ever. Okay, so they are basically, this is just a really bad wearable, right? And so soon we're going to stick this on our head, and that's what Magic Leap is sort of working on doing, where it puts a layer of augmented reality, extra reality, but it tracks with the real world. It understands that this is a table, that this is a floor, so like if let me just show you something. On, and this was a aquarium. Well, what happens is the fish know not to swim through you all. It knows to swim over. It knows if I put my hand there, it pushes up. My hand doesn't go through the fish. It really is quite magical. It's still fairly new technology, but the imagination is beyond what this could actually eventually do. So I don't know why I have that there again. Well, we'll talk about identity in a little bit. We'll talk about Internet of Things in a little bit. So I want to go back to the consensus and the trust and why do you care? What's interesting, we have a trust. So a lot of Bitcoin, a lot of blockchain is based on trust and consensus and community. Who would have thought 8 years ago that you would get in a car with somebody that you did not know in the middle of the night? I mean, that is a crazy new place that we have gone to. Who would go and stay in somebody else's house or let somebody else stay in your house? But we do that now because we're creating these, basically we trust the system, the network, the machine, and the algorithm more than we trust each other. That is really important. That's what consensus is. All right, so again, so why does this matter? For you all, it's an economic layer on top of the internet so that digital data and digital assets travel with self-executing rules, sometimes at a cost. Okay, I jumped a little bit there. I know that's a little crazy. But, so currency, we're talking about, so now currency is basically data, right? The money that I gave Shelby does not exist except for in the ether. But the thing is that, I mean, who carries cash around anyway, right? So the thing is that I say this about data, about ourselves, and also about video and content. Everything is, so basically the internet's free. It's a gigantic copying machine, and it sucks for content creators, right? Because everything you make can be copied. Everything. Everything you say can be copied. Everything you create, music, movies, articles, everything can be copied, right? So what this does is, just like money, it carries, the data carries around with it an algorithm that says, guess what? Shelby created this piece of art. And if you're going to copy it or use it, you either have to attribute Shelby, depending on the rules she wrote. So we've heard of metadata. Metadata is like, this is, it's kind of like the hashtags to data, like the extra little information. So instead, this metadata has like self-executing rules called smart contracts. We're going to get there. Okay, so I'm not going to do this. If you're really interested in creating Panther Coin with me, you will watch this blockchain demo at MIT, and this really explains the hashing and the technology behind all that. I'm not going to bore you with that, but if you're interested in that, it's really cool. Okay, so let's go back to the smart contracts. So Bitcoin, the first instantiation of a blockchain, just says Elizabeth gave Shelby $10, okay, and that just basically puts something in the ledger. It might have a little extra thing that Elizabeth gave Shelby $10 for her hat, okay. So there might be a description of what the transaction was about, but and that's Bitcoin. Ethereum, you might have heard of it. It's another cryptocurrency, crypto asset that basically enables smart contracts. So what that means is that if, and I'm picking on Shelby because she's right here and she's also a student, and she said I was one of her favorite professors. So, but if she made a photo, a digital photo, and she put it on the internet, and she gave it to Quinn, okay, so, but with a stipulation, which is it must be attributed back to her. That is in the code, but she could also give it to Amani, but she could set the rules to be different, which is Amani has to pay her $10 for it, whatever it wants. But it self-executes. So when Quint puts that image up on his website, there's an automatic someplace that says photo by Shelby Vaughn, right? But there could also be a piece of code that for Amani, when she opens it up, it says must pay $10 or can't use. Okay, so that's the sort of smart contracts. I'm not going to go into that, but basically, this really trips the lawyers out. Smart contracts are basically, like when you write a contract, let's just say we were talking about that we need to get a release form from our presenters. So if I sign a digital copy of a release form of the video that's going to be made for me, then that could travel around with that video. And I could put extra information, which it can only be at a gsu.edu website. If my presentation goes beyond that, then there could be smart code, because the video knows where it is. The video knows if it's at, vice.com, and the video won't play because it's got a smart contract, it's got smart data connected to it that says can't play at vice.com. It has to have a .edu at the end. That's self-executing. These things can do this work itself. So this is where code is law, law is code. So when I teach Solidity programming, basically what you're teaching is how to write code, write law, like legal contracts in code about data. I'm simplifying this, okay? This is a really hard topic to understand, and I get it, so don't feel like you have to understand everything, but that's sort of the So blockchains create communities based on value and trust, which is, so Estonia has put all of their identity on the blockchain. Estonia can do that because it's a very small country that's in the mountains, that's very homogenous, and so it's a community where they can kind of execute this and not have too much of a problem doing it. But from now on, you don't have to have anything on here but a fingerprint, and then they know who you are. And everywhere you go in Estonia, it is connected to your identity, and you can choose who gets to see your identity, when they get to see your identity. You own your identity. There's no central authority. And so those are communities. The United States, that's a really hard problem to solve because we have federal identity. We have, we have nation, we have state, we have city, we have all kinds of different, but I want you to think about communities in general, and I just think Estonia is an interesting one. I'm not going to go into this. I'm not going to go into this. Oh yes. So right now, I liken the blockchain startup ecosystem to the indie film world. So the way I suggest people learn about blockchain is take the knowledge base that you come from. If you come from music, if you come from games, if you come from IT, jewelry making, whatever it is, go from that space to learn about this space. But what I see, because I understand the film and television industry pretty well, basically right now there are so many experiments going on, most of them are going to fail. Just like indie films. So that's what's going on. So there's a lot of hype going on in the space, but it's very sincere, very interesting, and that's why I say avant-garde, because you have to really think outside the box to not do the obvious things, right? I liken, anyway, I won't get into that. But, all right. ICOs are initial coin offerings. Some people say if Kickstarter and IPOs had a baby, that's what an ICO is. So basically, this is basically crowdfunding grown up. So everybody that started Kickstarter way back in the day, we were the scruffy people that were just like, hey, somebody give me some money, and hey, if everybody here gave me $10, I can make my movie. And so basically, now the big VCs and the people who are raising real money realize that initial coin offerings are a way to raise money. But I think this quote is quite funny, which is a lot of people who are raising money with ICOs be very cautious, because it's kind of like if the Wright brothers founded their airplane with air miles, which means there's a huge century gap between when the promise is actually able to be executed. So to me, this is where I really want to talk. The virtual is real. What are digital assets besides Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies? Photos, music, movies, video games, 3D assets, websites, code, algorithms, avatars, skins, rigging, voice, movement, environments. Okay, wait. So everything in this world will be recreated in that world, and we're going to start spending more time in that world. Okay, that world is the virtual world. Our avatars are the clothing on our avatars. We could say that our Facebook persona and our Twitter persona or whatever are basically data representations of ourselves, things we say, things we do. And we want to own that data. Okay, so I'm going to go back to that in just a second. I'm going to just talk about, we're going to go back to that too. I'm going to get to something. Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how we make things in the virtual world. I'll just go into this for a quick second. These are the companies that are already working in blockchain and creative industries. Comcast, Spotify, Kodak, Unity, Second Life, and Amazon. Amazon is a really, these are countries and all the entertainment blockchain projects that are going on in them. I can show you this URL. Okay, where's Amazon? Oh, did I skip Amazon? Amazon's Sumerian. Okay, some of you all have used game engines before to make virtual worlds. Unity, Unreal. Amazon has a little one called CMII. It's basically a virtual world building app that you, when you go to Amazon, you can use this and you can create little worlds. You can create apartment rooms or warehouses and what have you, and you can fill them with little digital assets. So you can put a couch in there, and you can put a window with yellow light coming through, and all of that sort of thing. So why does that matter? Amazon is the biggest seller of real goods. They're about to be the biggest seller of virtual goods, and they know where this is going. Because when you make a virtual apartment, you don't want to have this kind of lighting and this kind of carpet. You want beautiful light. You want a little lamp. You want to have a couch made of leather or that looks like it's made of leather. You want all of these things. So you want these beautiful digital assets. They realize that is about to be a massive store where people will buy and sell virtual objects as the longer we spend in that space. Kids have been trained in this with Minecraft. They're spending tons of time in Minecraft building these virtual worlds. So I have not heard that Amazon Sumerian is going to start using virtual currencies, but I know that they're working on this kind of stuff. But this space will be a place where virtual items and objects are made. Fortnite is the most popular video game right now. Their mobile video game is, I think they make just on the mobile, not on the platform or the PC. They make over $2 million a day selling digital assets that don't help you play the game better, that just make you look better. So just accoutrement, a dress. I mean, I know you all don't just put on whatever clothes you find on the ground. You think about it. You care about what you look like. Well, we're going to care about what we look like in the virtual world too. And we need to buy clothing and shoes and necklaces and all of that stuff. All right, so everything in this world will be recreated in that world. So I think that back to communities and consensus, I think that games are a really interesting space where communities are created, tokenization happens, like your power token, your knowledge token, your all the different sort of points that you get are like tokens. You get little money flies up from whenever you step on a toad or something like that. And they also have built-in reputation systems. And there's also community managers. So these are like little test communities that are popping up. People are seeing these as basically prototypes of new ways of organizing humans. And they're great prototypes for how we might reimagine how we form communities. See, this is where it gets really tricky. We're going into something where we're reevaluating, we're refiguring out what money is and what value is, and also what governance is, what consensus is, how we're going to organize. Okay, but it can go, reputation systems can go terribly wrong. I hope I can find
No projector who lives her life trying to please everyone.
Lacey is lost. She's lost to her.
I meant to find a different clip.
Everyone is a little bit heightened. Nosedive is...
Sorry, I got the wrong clip there. Y'all know Nosedive from Black Mirror. Basically, every interaction that people have, they get points. Oh, you smiled at me, points. Oh, why are you looking at me that? Negative points. And you go around and you can't get an apartment if you don't have the right number of points and what have you. So reputation systems can go terribly wrong. And as we know, algorithms can be very biased. And so how we build these new worlds is really fascinating. So how is the virtual world built? Game engines, which we talked about. 3D modeling software, 3D CAD for architecture, 3D scanning, animation, automation, and lots of things. So I posit that all of us are data. First, we're going to talk about a couple of those different things. So rigging. Greg, your wife just did an entire two-day rigging session where people's motion is captured and then typically applied to like a panda bear or something in animation. So like if you're really good at moving, then you do this and then they apply that. Okay, but who owns that motion? Who owns that movement? Is that movement you? So the thing is, that's the whole point, is that we are just data now. Do you know that with 300 Facebook likes, that algorithm can determine more about what you're going to do, what you like, who you are, than your spouse? So all we are is data. Do you know that if we looked at a month long of your spending, if we looked at your bank account, we could determine almost everything about you. So if you don't own that data, if these data are in central databases that big corporations own, they own you. So we have to own our data, and this is why blockchain matters, because we need to hold on to that and say who can and can't have our data. So skinning. This is clothing. This is how clothing is made in virtual worlds, where you put, this is where you buy clothing and it can expand depending on what you feel like doing. I'm not going to go into the beauty that these games, well, I'll go quickly. Why are virtual worlds compelling?
Tell me more about this place. You spent nearly 90 years there.
What? No. No, not there. The forest is just the lobby. That's where the entrance is.
Okay, I just show that because virtual worlds are very beautiful and very compelling, and when you can immerse yourself in that, that is really alluring. And somebody is selling how to make light bounce off of grass. That is an algorithm. That's more data. Who gets money for that? How's that, traded and purchased? And you don't want somebody copying. If you spent 2 months figuring out how to make light bounce off of grass, you want to monetize that. So also, who owns our digital representations of ourselves? Who owns Liam Neeson? Can he rent out his virtual self? It's obviously so real that there's a virtual reality blockchain alliance, but Decentraland, I'm going to skip through this because I want to give some time for questions. So Decentraland is a virtual real estate company where it's all just virtual real estate. People buy and sell and make millions of dollars off of this virtual space. So it's very fascinating that people will spend, like Second Life, people will spend a lot of time in this space. This is pretty fascinating. Helsinki has made a perfect replication of its city, and you own the digital representation of whatever your land is. If you own a house, then you get to own that as well. And I think this is just really interesting how we're sort of reimagining what we own and what is our data ownership and our data world, our data assets. Okay, so the last point I'm going to bring it home is that what's going on here? That's right. It's an esports competition. Okay, more people watch Twitch TV than ESPN. More people watch other people playing video games than other sports. The virtual is real. Okay, Georgia State has 10 scholarships for e-athletes. So this stuff is real, but it's all stuff that people are doing in the virtual world. That space is rapidly growing. Okay, let's just see this. Yeah, these are some pretty interesting things that we can start to think about, where getting paid immediately after you've done work. So like if I'm going to pay Shelby to make me a web page, I'm not going to say, hey Shelby, I'm going to give you $20 after when you make my web page. I'm going to put $20 in an escrow that sits there, and if she makes the web page, then the money goes down to her. If she doesn't make the web page, then the money comes back to me. So there's all kinds of ways that people are imagining that your creative digital labor will be have smart contracts, be monetized, and I anticipate this to grow tremendously. So why does it matter again? An economic layer on top of the internet. If you want to learn Solidity, start with crypto zombies. Okay. This just goes on and on and on. These are really important things, but okay, this is the last thing. Okay, this is my crypto kitty. Her name is Cho-Cho. Crypto kitties are basically like crypto collectibles. But what's interesting is I bought this crypto kitty for 0.0028 Ether, which is not very much money. It was about $20 when I bought it. But this crypto kitty is worth 66 Ether. So this is a very expensive crypto kitty. But I just copied it and put it in my slideshow. Because it's not the PNG, it's not the image, because I just did a screen grab off of that. But I cannot buy or sell because really the crypto kitty is code. So this person owns the code of the asset, not necessarily the visual of it. But that's the thing is that in order to operate legitimately, like Twitter, you know how now Twitter, you have to have a blue check mark next to your name if you're real and authentic. So nobody's going to listen to you if you don't have a blue check next to you on Twitter because fake news. Because we have to actually be able to go back to the true source, the true owner, and have that be transparent. Okay? So there are ways now to authenticate. So if I tried to sell this crypto kitty, then I couldn't because I don't own the code behind it. But it also problematizes it a little bit. These things are still difficult. Okay, this is the last thing. Okay, I went and got myself scanned at this very, not the Creative Media Industries Institute. There's another place where they've taken Arduinos and Raspberry Pis and made a circular thing, and then you can get your body scanned. But in one of the Robinson College of business classes, we made, the students made a company called Snapshot so that you could protect your digital asset, because look at this. Clearly, I'm not dancing. They took my avatar and did that to me. Okay, so guess what's going to happen if you don't own your digital asset and people can get hold of you and apply other movements? Yeah. So we need to own our data. And the only place I'm going to do is I just want to, I want to get to where I show you, these are really interesting things, but I'm going to skip them. I just want to show you all oh yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to show you what things oh, forget about it. I'll pull it up in a second. Questions? Yes.
Now, do you have to become a owner of Bitcoin in order to be a block on the blockchain network?
No, there's all kinds of cryptocurrencies. Do you all have the Cash App?
Yes.
Can you see that you can buy Bitcoin on it right now? Yep, you can buy Bitcoin by just a click of the button. That did not. It used to be you had to take a picture of yourself with your ID, both front and back, and wait a month to get on to buy cryptocurrency. No longer is that true. But no, you don't. Well, like, do you have to be a node?
You have to buy. You have to be part of the cryptocurrency owner in order to be a block on the blockchain.
No. Because so this is what's really crazy. Think about all the different. You've heard of Litecoin and Ripple and Ether and whatever. Those are each think of them as like nations or different little states. So are you a member of that or not? It doesn't matter. You know, you can go just get Ether if you want to. But if you want to exchange within this economy, yes, you do. You might have to buy, you might buy EOS, you might buy Gollum, you might buy, there's all kinds of things that you can participate in. That's why I call them indie, you know. Yeah.
I was just saying, co-watch, when you saying that when you own the item, is it like some type of thing that calls the item back to the person, or is it just like it searches for it?
Okay, so interesting question. So basically, so we didn't go into hashes and we didn't go into storage. Small bits of data can be stored on the blockchain. If it's large amounts of data, there's something called the interplanetary file system, which basically is just a pointer to that big old storage space. It gets kind of complicated, but yeah. Yeah.
Is more like aspects of people's lives that are taking place in this metaverse. What are people starting to learn about widespread like psychological responses?
Well, okay, so if you're talking about like spending more time in VR, or spending, or is it
just
about
having more parts of your life and bringing this like world that we created for ourselves?
You know, I don't know. I mean, you see what I see. I see that I think that we need an easy way to do transactions within this space. But like, if you spend a bunch of time in the VR world and it makes you crazy, yeah, probably. But I don't think that some of the things I'm talking about could just be augmented reality too. It doesn't mean that we're going to always be immersed in a full headset. I think what we're learning about psychology, we're learning about communities, and that's really fascinating to me. One of the things is that nobody buys and sells things with Bitcoin because there's a limited supply. And whenever there's a limited supply of something, people hold on to it, expecting it to go up in value. And one of the things that Second Life and those people learned was that instead of having a finite amount of, and this is the case with Minecraft, is that you have to always be able to have more space, more money as more people come on, and that's a new thing that people are learning. And so blockchain might just sort of be like gold, that there's a finite amount of, and that we might need to use something else for our ongoing exchanges. I don't know if that answers the question. Yes?
Okay, so you said that blockchain is a way that we can, it's decentralized, it's a new power thing, but what are the people in the industry doing to give that power to people who don't have power in the reality that already exists? Like, what are the ways that we can use this new concept and this new source of power to give it to, other people?
Great question. So, unbanked. So basically people having wallets. The unbanked automatically now having wallets as long as they have a cell phone, then their bank is on their cell phone, and so now they have money and can exchange money peer-to-peer. Voting algorithms that then guarantee who gets to vote and who has voted, and not having somebody who can kind of manipulate the system to be, so the lack of central authority is where, so actually it's seen as a technology of equalization, but it has to be handled very carefully, and there's a ton of nonprofits that are working in this space. As a matter of fact, a lot of the experiments are going on in these kinds of spaces. And it's endless, and I'd be happy to talk to you about it later. Did somebody else have a question? Okay.
Are digital assets serialized, meaning that do they hold, are they able to be distinguished between one asset from another asset, the same asset, or is it infinite?
Well, okay, so assets, so if you go on and you type your name in one of these hashing algorithms, you'll always get the same hash back. So then if you take like your image, you'll always get the same hash back. So all these companies are trying to figure out like, how to break down a digital asset. Like, is it, like if you're taking like the whole body, like my body, is my movement separate from my image? is my voice separate from my body? You know, that's all being like teased out right now. Yeah.
I was an intellectual property attorney for most of my adult life. My mind is getting overwhelmed
Yeah.
with the questions here.
Mhm.
And this is just a snippet of a question now.
Yeah.
Is why are they calling it a smart contract as opposed to just rules? It's not really a law. It's a rule of use.
Well, it's a rule of use, so I guess it's just kind of like if I say, so one of the examples that I like to do when we play, I play a smart contract game actually. So if the three of you are in a band, okay, and you all have, I mean, you could call it rules, whatever it is. It could be that, that, you know, you get 10% because you're the singer, and she gets 50% because she's the producer, and she gets 40% because she's the guitar player. However it is, that would be the way that y'all deal with it. But then after, you know, 100 sales, you know, then she might get more because she's the producer and she's been working extra hard at that. And then then it could be when you're selling to a university, you know, we only pay 10% of the price. And so all this is written in the contract. All of this is written in the contract and it executes itself. I know, lawyers are freaking out. Okay, so it's 2. All right. Take care.